Well, as promised on the last video, we are doing a double post tonight because there's some interesting things that might be some good news for the Indianapolis Colts as they look to right the ship on the season and really kind of get their bearings against them and bearings set as we continue on to this very, very young season. I mean, this season is still an infant, barely walking, doesn't even have words to say yet, and yet we're already making assumptions about some NFL teams, and the Colts are one of those teams that either is getting talked about in the wrong light or getting talked about not enough as far as what they're able to do. So all that and more on this video. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And the Colts just got some good news and maybe a gift given to them by the NFL unintentionally. But excuse me, very early in the video to already start coughing. But the Colts kind of got a gift given to them because this Colts run defense, which was one of the better in the league last year, I believe they were top 15, so better half of the league in run defense, but they struggled in the pass, and they did not get good pressure, and now seemingly things have flip-flopped. They had almost no change in staff. That was a big highlighted topic in this offseason, is that they kept all the same guys, though they had some blaring, their defense looked like Swiss cheese out there, and yet seemingly things have flip-flopped. Their run defense is the worst in the NFL, literally ranked 32nd in football. They're not able to get a good run defense. They're not able to kind of seal that down. The linebacker room looks like a mess, and this was one of what was said to be a top 10 linebacker room in football, and they can't make a tackle or cover. There's so many things going on. There's so many mysteries into what's going on this season. I don't think it's all Gus Bradley. I really don't, because I think that when you watch the play calls, it seems like they're there. But I have a theory as to why, because it's not just the Colts. I have a theory as to why this defense and why defense in general is better on the pass and way worse on the run statistically this year. But we'll get into that. But so far, let's talk about the gift given by the NFL unintentionally, because the schedule was made long before you could predict any sort of struggles that this team would have. And the Bears, who the Colts will face this weekend, were said to be a really, really good offense, at least, and maybe not as good of defense, but a really, really good offense, right? And seemingly, again, things have flip-flopped. Their defense is playing not terribly. They only allowed 19 points against the Texans, which are at this point kind of developing into this powerhouse. But their offense is stagnant, and more so, their rushing offense is stagnant. They are ranked worst in the league in offense, and we're going to pull this up real quick. Why can't the Bears run the ball is this post by The Athletic. But this is the stat that I want to pull up, and that is that the yards... Oh, my face is in the way. Sorry. The yards per carry is 1.3. It's terrible. 32nd in the league. Rushing EPA is negative 7.69. That is ranked 33rd in the league. Their YBC to rush is negative 0.025. That's 31st in the league. And the yards after catch / rush is 1.79. So this is what they rank that as, the YBC / rush is yards before carry per yards per contact per carry. That's negative 0.05. Sorry, yeah, 0.5. That is 31st in the league. That is meaning, if I understand this correctly, which I believe I do, that is meaning that he is getting contacted behind the line of scrimmage on most plays. The average is for him to be facing contact behind the line of scrimmage on every play. Or on most plays, rather. And then the yards after contact per carry is 1.79, which means he's not breaking contact. And this is DeAndre Swift, right? This is a guy who generally was revered as a decent back. I mean, signed a really good contract with the Eagles, played his season there, and then obviously signed with the Bears in the offseason. And so he was with Detroit before that. He was generally very good. And revered is very good. It was kind of a surprise when they went with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs over DeAndre Swift, right? Like, that was kind of a shock. But here we are. We're talking about the Colts and the Bears. The Colts are also ranked 32nd in the league in every rushing statistic. But it's not just the Indianapolis Colts, right? The Colts are obviously the worst. But behind them, shortly behind them, is teams like the Eagles, is teams like the Cowboys, are teams that have what were revered as very good defenses. So what is going on? Why can we not tackle? Why are we having so much trouble with this in the NFL? Because you also saw that Jonathan Taylor was able to break some very explosive runs. He had an average of 8.6 yards per carry this Sunday on only 12 carries, at over 100 rushing yards. So what is going on? Why can we not tackle? And here's my theory, and this is not an original theory. This has been talked about. I talked about on Get Up this morning. I talked about on Greeny. All of these shows are now covering what is going on. And a big deal of it, Herm Edwards had a very insightful pick on Greeny yesterday where he said, when you don't play the preseason and you don't practice tackling, because we don't practice tackling in practices anymore, you don't get used to it. So these are guys who aren't able to hit as they used to, but they're also not practicing tackle. And so these guys who are generally revered as some of the best tacklers, Zaire Franklin led the league almost 2 seasons straight, I believe, in tackles. Micah Parsons is a revered running or a linebacker, is not able to make tackles. So what is going on? Why are passing offense is the worst that we've seen since 1962, and the running offense is some of the best that we've seen in history? I mean, this is every team is breaking off over 100 yards every single week. And the thing is, I believe that it has so much to do with not playing the preseason. Because now we're looking at what was used to be like 6 preseason games back in like the 70s, 80s, 90s. With 6 preseason games, we've dropped it down to 3, and we don't put our starters out there for hardly any of them. So we're looking at guys like Anthony Richardson. What's his struggle? What's this? He's not he's not able to play these games. He's not playing in the preseason games. So you don't get experience. You don't get any of this. But the gift given to the NFL is that the Bears are the worst rushing offense in football. So you pair that with the worst rushing defense, and you get a very stoppable force meeting a very movable object. And so something's going to give, right? Something has to give. Either the Colts are going to start to figure it out, and this is going to be basically a scrimmage game for figuring out how to defend against the run, or the Bears are going to get their lick, and they're going to go crazy, and they're going to be able to run all over this very flawed Colts defense. So the question then remains, is this Colts defense going to be able to stand up, especially when you lose DeForest Buckner, who's a big impact player, especially in the passing defense in as far as pass rush goes. But this is going to be a real test on if this season's going to be a wash. And I'm not saying it's going to be over. If the Colts go 0-3 somehow and lose to the Bears, who don't look that great, I mean, they're a blocked punt and a Will Levis idiot mishap away from being 0-2. So this is a Bears team that clearly doesn't have it figured out. They're very injured. Rome Odunze is injured. Keenan Allen's out for some extended time. Their offensive line looks in shambles. Caleb Williams hasn't figured out. This is a good game for the Colts to really get some momentum, really to start to get this drive. And I think that they're going to be able to do it because I do believe more in this Colts defense, more than I believe in this Bears offense. And I think this is going to be a good game for Anthony Richardson and company, and it's going to be a good game for the Colts defense.